Hello, this is Mr. Huff, and I just wanted to recap the demo day that Josh and I went to. One of the things that we noticed as we drove around the field, the robot is very controllable, and that's mostly due to the small wheels. One of the problems one of the things we need to account for is it takes about 16 seconds to get from the starting block to the scoring objects like Manny and the cans. We also noticed that when we navigate through the gate, we have just a few inches of clearance, as you can see in this picture. It might be a good idea for you guys to consider narrowing the robot. You could shave some of this side off without making very many modifications to your systems, and that would help us get through this narrow gate here. When we tried the robot using the robot to pick up Manny, it did a pretty good job. One of the things I wanted to point out here is, again, with the wide robot, you don't have a lot of room for maneuvering in this region. So there again, we may want to consider trimming an edge. Just a suggestion. You guys will have to decide on that. And the same issue here. You can see that we don't have a lot of clearance on either side due to the width of our robot. At this point, the extra width really doesn't seem to add any value. One of the things we might consider is making it launch, diagonally, or figure out how to mount the launcher so that it's as close to the arm as we can get it. All right. We noticed this several times. The height of our base is just barely enough to clear the top edge of the walls here. One of the concerns we have is that if the robot is under a load or has more weight at this point, that this could become a catch point and we could get hung up on the wall, and that could cost us time. So we may want to consider trimming these edges back or rounding it so that this is less likely to happen. The claw had no trouble picking up Manny and moving Manny around the field. So I believe once we get the motors on that's not going to be an issue. And dragging him to the box is a little interesting. One of the things we discussed is having the system, the joystick, have a routine in the program where it can change directions, where we can make the front the back and the back the front, depending on which direction you want to drive, and that way it would make it easier to position Manny in the box. One of the things we need to account for is this claw will get stuck in the carpet. If it comes in contact with the carpet, it is going to hang up, and that's going to cost us time. So one of the things we should probably consider is putting a hard stop below the arm to keep it where the lower claw is not going to come in contact with the floor or the carpeted surface. When we try to pick up the cans are very slippery for this claw. We do need to add grip, but we also need to increase tension quite a bit. So probably as much as we can stand. Again, I would suggest making a 4th iteration of the pickup mechanism so that we can pick up these cans. The upper one was pretty easy to get a hold of if just driving up and having the claw level. But it does tend to slip out, so we need to resolve that. When we're reaching down like this, it is very difficult for the claw to get a hold of this. So we probably need to come up with a way to account for this. One of the things we might consider is making the claw curved so that it's more level when it's trying to pick it up. And again, it slips right off as you try to lift. So I did get some cans so that we can try to make the claw work with the scoring objects. So I would suggest just fill them up with make them as heavy as they're possibly going to be, and try them from there. We also need to plan for this contingency. If the can gets knocked over, how do we pick it up? And if we could line up with like this where we can grab either end, we should be able to increase the tension and put some sort of grip on the tips so that it can grab a hold of the ends of the can, and I think it will be okay. So that's just a quick rundown of what we saw at the demo day, and I hope that I really think we can get finished with everything we want to do this week before we compete on Saturday. Talk to you guys later.